Go.
So before we get into the content of today's course, I wanted to take some time just to talk to you about the command verbs that are used in assessment, because this is something that, particularly with learners who are just starting their upskilling or their apprenticeship programs, this is something that trips them up and can catch them out quite a lot. So you'll go through a wide range of different types of assessment as you move through this apprenticeship and upskilling program. You'll be asked to give written answers, you'll be asked to give verbal answers in conversations with your assessors. You'll be asked to demonstrate your competency on site as you work through the competency framework. But just for today's program, I wanted to show you some of the important command verbs that are used in the assessment and that will be needed for answering the assessments connected with the course we're starting today. And they are to identify or state, to describe, to outline, and to explain. Now, I've also provided extra notes on these command verbs in your pack, and it's simply labelled command verbs notes for learners. But I wanted to start this short video just to speak to you and explain them in my own words, and hopefully that will help you understand what's required in answering the assessments. So the first thing you'll be asked to do is identify or state. This is simply asking you to make a list or to write a short number of words that show you understand where something is or what its different components are. We aren't looking for more than bullet points if you're asked to identify or state. But if you're asked to describe, that's wanting you to go on a little bit further. That's wanting you to talk about the different characteristics of a system or an asset or a problem or a procedure. I always think about describe in using Roy Walker's famous catchphrase, say what you see. That's what describe is, say what you see. To go a little bit further though, you may be asked to describe a range of characteristics of a program or a procedure or an idea. And if you're asked to describe more than one thing, that may well be you'll be asked to outline. Now, when you're asked to outline, that is a little bit more than identify and state, but it's asking you to describe a range of different characteristics about something, but only in a very small amount of detail. And then the most detail you'd be asked to provide would be when you're asked to explain. And over half of the assessment criteria for this unit, regulation and compliance in the UK water industry, will ask you to explain something. So I wanted to illustrate what each of these look like in an answer by just showing you this pen. So if you were asked to identify or state what this is, you would simply write a pen or a whiteboard marker. But if you're asked to describe it, you have to tell me a little bit more. You may want to say that this is a whiteboard marker. It's made by Banner, it's blue in colour, it weighs approximately 8 grams and it's 11 centimetres in length. You've said what you can see. You've described this pen. Now, when you're asked to explain something, it's good practice to start your explanation with a description, but you must go further. For an explanation, you must go into the principles behind what you're describing. So let's see how that would look for this pen. So you might say, well, this is a blue whiteboard marker made by Banner. And how it works is when you remove the lid, there's a reservoir of blue ink inside the pen casing. which discharges out the end of this felt tip. And when you apply the tip of the pen to a whiteboard, the ink transfers through the tip onto the whiteboard so that you can write. So hopefully that makes sense to you, and that helps you with answering your what we call yellow page assessment answers. There will be 5 that you're asked to complete regarding today's assessment. Those 5 that you're asked to complete are: explain why the regulatory environment is important in the UK water industry. And then in relation to your area of work, list the water industry regulators. But notice the second command verb in AC 1.2 and explain their purpose and function. AC 1.3 asks you to explain again the key functions or the functions of key stakeholders that influence the UK water industry. AC 1.4, that's assessment criteria 1.4, asks you to explain the purpose of the Water Industry Act and water quality regulations. And finally, assessment criteria 1.5 asks you to describe the main areas of operational activity which could have a direct impact on the protection of the environment. That's all for this short video, but keep in mind that there's further notes on command verbs and how to answer your assessments in your pack. Thank you for listening.